Hey YouTube, how you going? Gonna do another video for you today on neoprene gloves and do they work and what's the best pair of gloves and that kind of thing. Let me start off by saying it doesn't matter what you do, your hands are gonna get cold. You know, you go on the Facebook groups and forums, everyone has problems with their hands and feet. It's obviously one of your extremities. So your core can keep quite nice and warm, A, because there's more blood flow going through there, B, because you've got a wetsuit on. It's your hands and feet that are kind of exposed. Also your face kind of when you go underwater, but primarily the hands and the feet. So a lot of people, everyone, especially once it gets dark, you know, they're wearing gloves. I got two different pairs of gloves. I got one which is 3mm thick, it's a surf glove by O'Neill, and another one which was 5mm thick, that was a diving glove. Now the main difference, it's probably going to be very hard for you to see, but the 3mm glove has like a coating. If you imagine the central piece on a wetsuit, how it's kind of got that rubbery, plasticky type coating, that's essentially what these gloves are covered in. Now, although these are only 3mm thick, I actually found them to be better than the 5mm glove. The reason why I think that is the case is the surf glove with this coating cuts down on the wind chill factor. So when the wind's blowing against your hand or you're running and that kind of thing, it doesn't kind of break through the neoprene as well. And I think that's because it is a surf glove, so it's not designed to be submerged in water the entire time, you know, because if you're surfing, you're paddling onto a wave, you're standing up, you're out of the water a bit, that kind of thing. The dive glove, on the other hand, although it's 5mm thick, what do people do when they're diving? They're underwater the entire time. And this is probably something I should have thought about before I bought these and used them last year, but I went with the idea that 5mm thick neoprene should be warmer. But obviously if you're diving, you're underwater the entire time. And I think if you were underwater the entire time, these gloves would be pretty damn good, because they'd keep your hands nice and warm because it would trap the water against your skin. Your body would eventually warm it up, even though it is one of your extremities, and you'd be okay. Obviously at World's Toughest Mudder, that's not the case. Also, going with 5mm thick gloves, you do lose some dexterity. The other thing I want to mention on gloves is make sure you get the right size, because they're very hard to put on and take off in the middle of the night when you're freezing cold. I got these 3mm gloves and they were a size small, and I probably should have got a medium, but they didn't have any because I got these through a friend who works for O'Neill and was able to kind of get them as a bit of surplus stock very cheap. So that's kind of why I went with those. But I think if I had a medium pair, it would have been a lot easier to kind of change gloves, because I had two pairs of these. One pair got completely shredded on the palm, just on lap one. I don't know why. I think maybe going through one of the barbed wire crawls or whatever, I just kind of grazed it on some gravel, and then once it ripped, it just kept going and going and going. But yeah, having that slightly larger size, I definitely think would have helped. Now, the only other thing I've thought about in regards to gloves is very similar to what I've spoken about previously with the kind of keeping your feet warm and stopping them from getting waterlogged. And that is like a silicone-based product. The one I used last year was Gurney Goo, but there's various other products out there. And I think if you were to coat your hands in a slight coating of that kind of silicone-based anti-chafing cream or something like that, it's not really going to affect your grip because they're inside a glove, but it may just kind of stop your hands getting a little bit waterlogged, and that would also help, I think, with keeping them a little bit warmer. I know in the middle of the night I was literally pouring boiling hot water on my hands through the gloves to try and defrost them. So that's kind of how cold your hands get. And I think if you've got the time and you live in a cold climate, it's a little bit hard here in Sydney because it doesn't really get cold enough, but if you live in a cold climate, perhaps try using some of that kind of silicone-based gel on your hands, sticking them in a glove and seeing, you know, if they withstand the cold better. You know, you've got two hands, so you can do one with the silicone-based stuff, one without. Go for a run in a cold climate, maybe go for a swim in a cold lake or a cold pool or something like that. Just kind of test it out and see what happens. If you're looking for gloves though, I definitely think the kind of surf glove has an advantage. over the more standard dive glove. There are obviously other options out there with gloves and everything like that, but this is kind of what I used last year, and I do think that if I was to go again, and when I go again to World Surface Mudder, I would look at something like this. Maybe even if you got a thicker option in the surf glove, so you get the best of both worlds for later on in the night. But definitely having that kind of rubbery plastic coating certainly helped. Anyway, that's it, guys, on neoprene gloves and do they work and that kind of thing. Hope it helps you out a little bit. If you have any comments, questions, put them down below. I'm happy to help out. Thanks for watching. Talk soon.